Do you think social media has made dating harder or easier for black couples? And why?
I think I want to. I want to say easier. I don't know if that's true though. Okay. I want to say easier because like the idea of like courting feels a little closer. Like you don't gotta like necessarily feel the pressure of like giving out your number immediately. It's like, all right, we could like soft launch. I give you my Instagram, right? We can see each other real quick. You know what I mean? And then like that like could lead to something, or like if it don't work, there's some distance. Whereas like I feel like it was real black and white before, pre like social media. But it's also like, okay, is what's real on the social media is, and it's like that's that question too. So I feel like, but I want to say easier. I'm gonna go, if I gotta pick one, I'm gonna say easier.
I think it depends on what you're using social media for. So if you say social media as far as desire and attraction, I think in some ways social media has kind of warped dating, because it makes you, I mean, you got the algorithm, right? Which is kind of conditioning you to one aspect of your life. You like one type of picture for the next how many months, years. Those are the type of pictures in your algorithm, right? So it's creating this false sense that there's only one type of person, one type of look that you like. When in reality, you could be anywhere, meet any type of person, and when the vibe, it's a whole different thing. So I think when it comes to aesthetics, social media has warped it. I do think, though, there's a whole nother dimension of social media that's kind of around, like, people spreading information around attachment styles, relationship, how to deal with a breakup, how to deal with attachment, detachment. There's that aspect of social media. Advice center, that can actually be kind of healthy.
So you're kind of like in between?
I think it's an in-between, because I think most truths are in-betweens. We speaking of social media, we're used to searching for a yes or a no, a right and a wrong, when a lot of truths are the in-between. They are in that middle. So yeah, that's my answer, in the middle.
Balance, duality within all things.
For sure, 1000%.
So next question.
What else?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm like, dang.
Hey, listen.
He's like, right, let's just jump right
I hope
in.
y'all ready, man. Let's do it. All right, so do you think that Eurocentric beauty standards still control the beauty industry for black women, and why?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, it's marketable, unfortunately. Like, we're still fighting to, like, reclaim, our, like, natural, just, like, autonomy, right? Forget the image, like, the autonomy of, like, hey, there's boldness in arriving just as the beautiful black woman, right? And without having to do anything else. I think that, there's too many systems in place have like been trying to figure out how to replicate that or monetize that, and in the absence of trying to do so, have then tried to manipulate the black woman. And then we all suffer. When the black women suffer, we all suffer, because then we all trying to like recover and do all that. So I think that in terms of like its impact, yes, it's still there. I think enough of us, not enough, but like many of us are actively investigating like, okay, what part do I have to play in like furthering that narrative, which I think is necessary, right? And then it's like, I think that has to be the case with if we're gonna undo it, it's gonna be that way. Us individually being like, how do I play a part, or what do I believe, and how much of that is attached to like what I've been given.
I agree. I think we're fighting back. Yeah. I think there is a lot of pressure that you're only beautiful if your hair looks this way, if your skin looks this way, if your body looks this way, if your lips look this way, etc. But there's also a lot of resistance that's happening. You got black women who are like, nah, girl, you look good in every complexion. You look good in every body type. You look good in every hairstyle, right? And so that resistance does not, in fact, I think the resistance is because like we are so strong as black people. We know a lot, for sure. And we know a lot about people actively trying to make us think that we're less than. So yeah, there is a lot of attack, but there's our fighting back that's stronger than what we're getting from them.
I also have a question branching off from that question. So why do y'all think black females wear wigs on a mass scale in contrast to other races? Well, do y'all think it's an issue, or do y'all think it's just simply a choice? Like, oh, they just want diverse hairstyles? Because that's the argument a lot of black females make, right?
Sure.
Because I talk to a lot of black females. That's my question. Why do you have to have a blonde wig or a black wig or whatever wig to feel beautiful?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what is y'all opinions on that? What's y'all intake? Y'all really think it's choice, or y'all think it's just programming from a lack of self-love?
Okay. I think that's real layered, but I think it is choice. and it is choice informed by, some things that we've been given, right? And so I think that there's two things that exist, because there's a beauty in the creativity and the innovation of Black people that is seen, whether it's through wigs, the ways that we style our kinks, in all ways, right? So there's a beauty there regardless of whether it's rooted in, trying to be like something else or not. But so I think there's a beauty in the expression of Black people with their hair and our connections to it. And I don't think that it is absent from us to the point we just made, trying to undo some of the stuff we learned. So I think I tend to lean towards it is more of a tool of autonomy and expression than it is I am doing this as a way to get closer, feel like a proximity to Eurocentrism or anything like that. But I struggle with that notion that that's why Black women do it. Also, as not a Black woman, I don't think I can speak for the Black woman experience with their hair specifically. I can speak to sort of how I interact with it, but yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like it is mostly a tool of expression, and some of it is utility, right? We're throwing on a wig because we're protecting these braids for a couple seasons, right? Sometimes it's happens.
There's also a misconception that wigs are a Black thing. You look at most civil societies, I wouldn't say civil, but just societies in general, men and women wear and have worn wigs, right? It's a European thing, it's an indigenous thing,
in modern times.
It's an African thing. Hold on, I'm gonna get to that. It's an African thing. So conventionally, wigs as a space for adornment, right? Of celebrating culture. In some places, actually celebrating class, which is a whole nother thing, right? So the type of wigs you wear would be associated with the type of class you are. It's status. I think the way that we as Black women have appropriated it now, it's hair isn't about class. It's about self-expression, right? It's about culture, and it's about protection, right? A lot of us have 4C or more porous hair. And so braids and wigs literally help stop your hair from breaking. I think the better question is, why are we always so concerned about what Black women are doing with their bodies, right? It's fascinating to me that there's so much energy around what are Black women. If a Black woman is enjoying how she looks, is enjoying how she presents herself, then that's all that matters. We can deconstruct, right? I work with Black women and girls and gender binary and gender expansive youth. And so I have young girls who had points where they only felt comfortable if their hair was straight, if they only felt comfortable if their hair was right. So that's a different kind of conversation. I'm not convinced that all Black women and Black girls are like that, though. Yeah.
I mean, I feel I could speak from my perspective. The concern is because we want to heal the community, right? Yeah. If you want to heal the community, you gotta have the conversation that's uncomfortable, right? And the conversations that a lot of people are not willing to have. So that's the only reason I mention it. But most definitely. One last question for y'all. I don't want to take too much of y'all time. This is a financial question. So, why do you think the wealth gap in the Black community is still so wide in contrast to other races? We also see a lot of Jews buying up the property. They buying up the property and they want us to rent it, and they taxing us in our own neighborhoods. You got the poppy stores making all this money. You know what I mean? So what's your opinion on that? Why do y'all think the wealth gap is so wide?
I mean, I think there are some very real systems in place that still, whether, we sort of not metaphorically, we sort of anecdotally say, all right, the system is against us. But that's there's some very real truth that still exists to that in terms of opportunities for Black people to enter, not even towards those tax brackets, but into opportunities to be amongst those things, right? We talk about Black home ownership, right? And the idea that the path to home ownership is littered with to your point, right? Sales of let's live here, or a misdirection of how to the point that we try to think about buying a hood, right? We say that we kind of put this as a pillar, but there's no path towards it, right? There's no education along the way, and an absence of the capital that we don't have to start it and to seed those things, or even to experiment and say if we did it right or wrong. In the absence of those things, it just becomes a lofty kind of goal. So I think sometimes we think that sometimes we get caught up in okay, this is the system that's got us, but that's true, and in absence of us building or acquiring a system that does actually create a ways to freedom or to access to the wealth, we're not going to understand it. And I think some of it starts with us universally kind of like understanding our collective wealth, right? I know people think about, you know, the black dollar and our spending power as sort of expendable, when it is like the leading driver of full economies outside of ourselves. So I think we gotta do a little bit of reclamation of that we gotta do. But I also think, in absence of a system that says, hey, all right, here's what we finna do, we're just gonna keep spending without some of that care or direction.
And even what you guys are doing and where we're at, I think is a perfect example of that. It's a perfect example of black folks taking up space, building their own spaces and platforms. So our homegirls and NIDA puts together this event called Vibes After Dark. So it's usually at night, although it's just ended. Today was during the day.
Vibes Before Dark.
Hello.
It was a special edition for the summer.
Period.
But you know, we out here.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. And like, you're supporting black-owned businesses. So black artists, creatives, entrepreneurs are here. Racism and systematic barriers is the American way, right? Like, there is no America without structures of inequity that stop people based off race, gender, class, sex, what have you, from getting ahead. The new American way has to be us creating spaces for us to get what we got to get, for us, by us. And that's what black folks are doing. That's what brown folks are doing. That's what women, minorities, so many people are pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, finding a new way to be. Because what we've learned is that the way that they've taught us, the way they conditioned our society to be, is not the way it has to be. You know? And even what y'all are doing, like, this is big, right? Like, capturing each other's voices, being from Newark, capturing other folks' voices in Newark and outside of it. That's creating our own way. That's how you change the game.
I agree. But with that being said, man, that's it for this section of the video.